Jamilla Rizvi, you said in the past. You said
I was searching for you.
That's fine. That's fine. You said in the past that boys need to be taught to be more empathetic to combat sexist attitudes. Now, I know you didn't intend it to be so, but as a young man, I find it offensive to suggest that my sex is not empathetic enough. And so my question was in regards to, like, surely there are other ways to combat rape rather than alienating men, when rapists are outliers and rape is a symptom not of masculinity but of malevolence.
Jamilla.
Thank you so much for the question. And I suspect we're probably on the same page here, and maybe I've expressed myself not as well as I could have. I think that the problems that manifest themselves in rape and serious sexual assault claims are problems that we need a multi-pronged approach to solving. There need to be programs that protect women, that support women who are fleeing violent relationships. There need to be programs that help our police to be able to have the powers to be able to enforce and intervene when they need to. And I think we also need to look at how we socialise young people. At the moment, we still talk in this language that puts the responsibility for preventing rape and sexual assault on young women. We say, don't wear a short skirt when you go out at night. Make sure that you don't drink too much. Make sure that you keep yourself safe. I want to have a conversation that says, okay, but is it a young woman's job to keep herself safe from a rapist, or is it our community's job to make sure that we don't have any rapists out there who are going to actually harm her? And I think that is part of a broader conversation around how we educate young men and women.
Can I just interrupt just for a second? I just want to go back to Angelo.
I just was hoping to finish answering his question, though.
Okay, sorry, but I just want to hear his response to the first part of what you're
Sure.
saying, and then you can come back and respond to that.
Oh, I completely agree with a lot of what you said. I think the main issue that I would have, I'm a music teacher and I teach little boys, and I think often, that kind of boisterousness of boys is, it's claimed that leads to rape, and we need to calm down boys and they're not empathetic enough. And I think we should be combating rape. I just don't know if alienating men, I think that's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're more likely to create rapists by saying men aren't empathetic enough.
Yeah, and I suppose my point isn't that I think men aren't empathetic enough or that boys are any less empathetic than little girls. Not at all. I'm the mother of a little boy and I'm trying to raise an empathetic little boy who loves music. So my concern is that we place a very different set of expectations on boys and girls, and we've changed the set of expectations for girls massively the last 20 years. We tell our little girls, you can be anything, you can be confident, you can be a CEO, you can be in the army, you can be a firefighter. I don't think we have done the requisite balance for little boys. We haven't said, it's okay if you want to be a dad full-time. That is a wonderful aspiration to have. It's a good thing if you are interested in the caring professions or the humanities or the arts. I think it's about encouraging and fostering that empathy and that interest in what we call left brain thinking in little boys and valuing it the same way we do for little girls, because I don't think we do that at the moment.
Okay, James, what do you think?
Tony, I recently became a dad for the first time. My wife and I have a 7-month-old boy, and we'll be raising him that every human being is of equal value and equal worth and deserving of equal respect, and that we'll expect him to behave that way when he grows up. And I think that's the best thing that any parent can do to make sure that their sons and daughters behave in a way that you'll be proud of when you see them grow up.
Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I've got a 14-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. And my wife and I are already talking about this, of where 14-year-old daughter climbs trees and does parkour, and everyone thinks that's wonderful. Everyone thinks that's wonderful, which is lovely. And so my wife and I have the conversation. Well, what about if our son is into what would be traditionally more girl, what would be viewed as stereotypical girl sorts of things, and we are absolutely fine. It doesn't worry us in the slightest. But we are aware of that societal, almost expectation or that difference in standard.
What about Angelo's point? I think, if I'm right, you're sort of saying it's becoming more difficult to be a boy. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So can I ask why you sense that?
I don't. male suicide rates are a lot higher than female suicide rates. And I think it's great that we're talking about issues with women which haven't been talked about until recently. But I think there's a big danger that we can swing to the opposite side, where we're demonizing things that are traditionally masculine.
So so you feel as though we're being demonized?
Well, I wouldn't say I exhibit traditional masculine traits, but I can see in a lot of my colleagues and my students things that are, pushed to the side because, the classroom can't cater for that.
Claire, I'll bring you back in because I cut you off earlier when you want to make some bigger points about these issues.
Yeah, well, Angelo, can I just thank you for your question, and especially the tone of your question, because it's really important for us to be able to have a conversation about this that's calm. So I think I disagree with you a little bit on how you've diagnosed the problem here. I think the attitude that tells us that there's these sort of very small number of kind of evil, aberrant doers of wrong, it doesn't actually reflect the statistics that we know about violence against women, and especially sexual violence against women. It's actually so common that it tells us that there are social things at work here that we need to address. The best evidence that we have is that making a society where men and women are more equal, and a society where people, like James has talked about, are raised with really deep-seated beliefs about respect for others, that's the best thing we can do to fix this problem. And it does require us to change and provide more flexibility about what it means to be a woman and then what it means to be a man. What really distresses me about your question is that it feels like we're not getting the tone of that conversation right. Can I just talk to you about your point about mental illness and suicide in men? Women suffer in a world where men feel that they can only be one type of male. It's really bad for women. It's also bad for men. The best evidence we have is that the men who are having the most mental health issues in our society and the men who are most likely to take their own life, they are the men who are stuffing themselves into this box. And it's actually men who feel freer to be who they really are that don't have those issues. So I don't know if you have any feedback for us as leaders about how we can have a better conversation about this, but we need to help men understand that this is not about an attack. This is about everyone being able to be who they are and be respectful of one another, and we will build a safer society for women through that too.
Okay, I think we've got a fair bit of feedback from Angelo already.
No, I completely agree with a lot of what you said. I just think now we're in a very different historical period, whereas before men and women were kind of separated in the working spheres. And now that we're put together, we don't know how to balance this.
Society's changing.
Yes, exactly. And I think we have to be careful that we don't suppress one side and we don't vilify the other. I think it's just a very hard issue to kind of tackle.
Thanks, Angelo, for demonstrating what audience participation is all about. Brilliantly. Grace, you have a word on this, or we can move on?
I'm happy to pass. We've covered so many topics.
Well, let's move on then.